Welcome to be in the garden. Welcome to be in nature. I trust you're well. I certainly am. Thanks to this huge poplar tree, actually in my neighbouring garden, I end up with lots of fallen leaves at this time of year. So really one of these projects, and I'm grateful because I rake these up and I can put them in the compost bin for the most part. Sometimes if there's just too much, I put them to help mulch around the garden, and occasionally we do take some off site. So for the most part, we use it around the garden somewhere. So today really is just one of those days where I've just got to get to raking up. Let's go and add some of this to the compost. And here is the compost bin, where we put just about every kitchen waste in there. There's a bunch of flowers I was gifted recently, so that's just the leftovers of the roses. We put paper, tissue. We don't consume animals, but we do collect eggshells, and you can see that they are busy being busy. So it means maybe springtime. Oh, I've got some yam peelings. Thumbs up if you've eaten yam before. Yam is delicious. So this is what the compost bin is looking like. And it's just breaking down gradually. We've got avocado peels in there, tea bags, carrots, onions, and I'm just going to add to it now some of the leaves I've just raked up. And really, it's as easy as that to make compost. Yes, there are lots of different people who say, you know, add 50-50, make sure, turn it around, make sure it's moist, make sure it's... And to be honest, I just want to keep a simple thing. I don't want to fuss over this. So I just collect garden waste and kitchen waste. We don't put any animal products in here with the exception of eggshells. And we just literally put it into the compost bin and, you know, and everything does the job for you, really. Microbacteria, the nature just comes in and does all the rest. And I have different compost bins. I try to avoid putting large objects like twigs and branches, although I do have a different compost bin where I do put those in. I make sure, I'm not sure what that is, it looks like a bit of plastic somehow, so I won't put that in the bin. I just put it into the compost bin. I try to avoid the twigs, branches, things like that, because they just take a little bit longer, that's all. There's no reason why you can't put it in there, but I'm hoping that this will be just turned and be ready for me to use come spring, and certainly for summer as mulching. I'll show you what it looks like a bit further down if I can. You can just see as it starts to break down. It's just darker in colour usually, and you really can't, there's an avocado seed there, but you really just can't make out what is what. We have got an army of worms, and they're just going to break this down, and I'll have some fresh compost to put onto my fruit trees, my vegetable plots, and win-win. This here is another of my compost bins. You can see how it's broken down entirely. There are probably no worms left in here because they'll just leave this compost bin once they've broken everything down and migrate to the one next to it where there's fresh matter for them to break down. So this is a completed, it's ready to go on to the flower beds, vegetable plots, etc. So this is what it will look like after a few months. It's time to harvest those grapes. You do remember those grapes I showed you, some of my back videos. These have got to be the tiniest of bunches, but organic grapes. I mean, this is the tiny one, but I've got something a little better over here. It's absolutely small, fits in the palm of my hand, but these are organic black grapes. They are juicy and I'm happy. So I'm just going to harvest these, and I'll show you what I get in total in just a moment. I always knew it wasn't going to be a huge harvest, but anything is better than nothing. Anything is better than nothing. This one's a little, I'll leave these for the outdoor animals. My tiny grape harvest. My tiny grape harvest. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Organic with seeds. That's the secret, with the seeds. So that's them there. I just thought, you know, I'm going to put them, there's something else I'm going to harvest. I'm going to put them in my bag that I use for my soaps. Have a look. Be in nature. That's where we are. And that's for those of you who purchase the soaps. You get this biodegradable paper bag for the soaps. Be in nature. Well, look at that. Having been in nature, I've grown a plate full of grapes. Why not? I have here some volunteer rainbow chard. So I may as well harvest that whilst I'm here. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That can be eaten raw in a salad. It can be juiced. Look at that. Beautiful. And some more. I'll clean those up and we can chop those in a salad today. There's some nasturtium leaves here. The flowers are not available, but some nasturtium leaves. I'll harvest a few of those. Very peppery if you've never had those before, but again, great in salads. Okay, so far I have a plate of black grapes, organic. Everything here is organic, freshly plucked. I've got a few leaves of nasturtiums, and I have some Swiss chard. And I have some Swiss chard, rainbow chard. I have some pink and I have some yellow. And these can be juiced, or they can be just chopped and eaten raw in a salad, or they can be used as spinach. Look at that. It's already looking beautiful, right? I'm just going to harvest now some of the echinacea flower seeds. These are some of the echinacea I planted earlier on in the season, and they've come and gone in terms of the flowers have been beautiful. I'm just going to take the flower heads off now and put the seeds in a paper bag. And of course, there's no better paper bag than to use the Be in Nature, where of course I have my handmade vegan soap bars. And I'm just going to let these seeds continue drying in this paper bag. Some of them I scattered already around the area, but for the most part I'm going to sprinkle the seed heads into the paper bag, or at least some of them. We have literally thousands of seeds, I should imagine. And I'm going to sow some of these on next year and hope to get more and more echinacea each year. Oh, you can see I've still got a couple of apples hanging in that tree. They look like red pendulums, red ornaments, don't they? Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Like red chandeliers. Look at the bee. She wants the last of the pollen from that flower. So determined. And she's off. And how do I know it's a she? Because the male bees, or the drones at this time of year, have all but been removed from the hives. Because they are of no use to the hive at this time of year. But isn't this flower beautiful? And the way the bee had to go into the length of the flower. A beautiful salvia. Absolutely gorgeous. Autumn. Oh, and she's back. Oh, just lovely. Oh, look at the way she's bending her body and twisting to go into that salvia. beautiful. Be in the garden, be in nature. Just planted out a perennial. Just finishing off a few odd bits and pieces around the garden. Garden beds can look a little tatty at this time of year as the summer comes to an end into the autumn. However, as you saw, I do still have some beautiful flowers that are flowering in the garden, and I'm just going to add a few perennials to the border. The borders can certainly look a little unloved, but I'm just going to add a few perennials into this particular border. And really, gardening is often a patience game, so we have to wait and see next year to see what it's going to look like. But I'm just going to add a few small flowers into this particular border and tidy it up a little bit. And move things around, no doubt. I have a lot of comfrey, so I am going to dig the comfrey out from this particular area to make space for these perennials that I'm going to add. I have plenty of comfrey, so I can afford to let this go. I might do actually just got a little planter here. Maybe just plant it in here actually. I don't think I'll ever run out of comfrey in this garden. I have a little window box here, and I'll just put some of the cuttings of the comfrey in there. It will soon reroot. Leave it to its own devices. is an easy plant to grow. It literally is. For some, you could say it's invasive, perhaps. Maybe people use such language. But certainly once you've planted it once, you'll have it all over your garden. So worth bearing that in mind if you do choose to plant comfrey in your garden. So I'm just clearing a small area here where I can just add a few more perennials into this bed. Take out the comfrey to get the roots of the other perennials space to grow. Just using the back of my heel to push it in firmly, and I will water them in. It'd be lovely to see these pop into the garden and how they'll look next year. That'll be lovely. When taking plants out of the pots, it's a good idea to just loosen up the roots. Loosen up the roots to prevent them from just going round in a circle. Sometimes they can be slightly root bound, and I like to untease the roots or even just slightly cut them to allow them to just grow in all different directions. Just untangle the roots so that they don't feel they have to continue in that same pattern that they were restricted in. Dig a hole, the depth of the soil in which the plant arrived in, and let it be level to the finished level of the soil. We backfill. Oopsie. Just using the back of my heel to push it into the soil. I'm just untangling the roots to prevent them from going round as though they are pot bound. Detangle them a little bit. Rub my glove and my fingers down the side to disturb the roots somewhat. Dig the hole. Plant it in. And backfill. I have a few more to do, and then I will water them in. Okay, so all I did was plant in a few perennials to increase the variety of plants in this particular border. And as I said, one of the most amazing things about gardening is you have to exercise patience. So it will not be till next year, God willing, universe willing, inshallah, by the grace of God, I hope so. All of the things that people say. So I hope to be able to see this bed showing off the plants I have planted in autumn, but will show off their delight in spring, summer of next year. The beds, as I said at this time, are looking tatty. The anemone is all but gone. You saw me harvesting the flower seeds of the echinacea. The flowers themselves have gone. These are actually the new shoots for the anemone, and you can see how green and lush they are in comparison to the ones that were on display this year. So these are the anemone from this year, and you can already see the new flush for those that will spring into action next year. So the flower bed is looking a little worn. It's done its job for the year. No doubt I will come back to this flower bed and arrange a few things. And that's the beauty of autumn also. As things die back and exposes the bare ground, you get to choose how to rearrange it for the following year. So the rains are definitely falling now. I will still water in these plants. Well, I'll keep an eye out on the rain because nothing is better than rainwater. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you as always. I do appreciate you. Keep yourselves well.